and welcome to the Natural Healing Reel. I'm Jackie, and I would like to welcome my guest today, who is one of the pioneers of our whole movement on coaching and the power of positive thinking and regenerating our lives. She created the power of clearing, which is a method, and she has taught and she has helped relationships with her new book called I Just Want Peace. She is an international speaker for more than 40 years, a relationship coach, and I am going to introduce you to Sandy Levey-Lunden. Welcome, Sandy.
Thank you. My real name and what people call me is Sandy Levey-Lunden. It's hard to remember someone's name and speak it exactly as they would say it, but that's my name, Sandy Levey-Lunden. Lunden is the Swedish.
Lunden. We went through it a couple of times, but I'm going to say it again because I'm really great at messing that stuff up. So welcome to the Natural Healing Reel. I'm really excited to speak with you because you are one of the pioneers of this whole movement of creating health within and relationships and healing. And tell me, where did this all begin for you? Where did this journey start for you?
Well, I would say like this, that actually I've been doing what I do since I was a small child, say 7 years old. Wow. Because I've always been interested in how people heal and how they transform their lives. And when I was growing up in the Bronx, when I was just a child, I noticed that, people were telling the same story over and over, a painful story. And I thought to myself, why does a person repeat a painful story to the same people over and over and over? It didn't make sense. And I would always ask these adults questions. My mother asked me, am I writing a book? And I said, no, I just want to know. But it's funny that she asked me that at a very small age. And then eventually, many, many years later, I did put it in a book, but I never thought I would. But I was inquisitive and I wanted to see what was the secret to one person being happy and one person having what we would call today pain and suffering, anguish, conflict, and struggle. And I wanted to get rid of all of that and live in a joyful way. Wow. Even as a small child.
So you were just a little angelic being that was popped on here to help us to become aware of what thoughts that become feelings.
Yes, our thoughts become feelings, become our belief system, and creates our experience. So from, say, a painful thought like I'm not good enough, or I'm not worthy of love, or I'm not worthy of being cared about, if we don't find a way to clear that, and we keep saying that to ourselves in our self-talk, in talking with others, and have it go circle on and in what I call our ego mind, it becomes a feeling. It can even go into our body and become a condition. And it can become a belief system, like we believe this is true.
And it's not.
And we interact with everybody from that place. Yes, and it's a belief, even a negative belief can become that. So we can let go of anything we become conscious of. So the most important thing is to become self-aware. What am I telling myself? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What am I believing? Because most of this, especially the negative part, all the negative part is not true. We can have positive beliefs. We can have positive thoughts. Those can be realized into positive experiences. That's what we all want. We want to have a more joyful life, an easier life. And everybody deserves that. No matter who they are, they deserve an easy life.
But this is a society. It's plaguing our whole society. The poor me victim. I'm not good enough, and, yes. And it starts from what I understand from the 1 to 7 or birth to 7 years of age, from our family dynamic and what we're observing.
Yeah. That's right. From our family of origin, we can take this on from what they're saying, what they're feeling, what they're doing. And it could even start in the womb. Because if somebody was thinking, I'm not sure I want you, I'm not sure I really want to carry you, I'm not sure I want to have this baby, which is you, it can translate. We can pick it up. The baby in the womb is filled with memory. It's what we call cellular memory. We're remembering it today. To let this go is quite a process. To let this go is quite a process. And I've worked with people, with the womb feeling and all kinds of things going on for them in their present day life, which came from their very early experience. In fact, I was working with that yesterday in a scene that I worked with a person in the clearing who had a very important scene with his au pair when he was very small, and not wanting to let this au pair go and love the au pair more than their mother. It was their caretaker, their love stream. And they let go of a lot of different people that were caring for them that were even more, they felt loved them more than their mother. Very, very challenging thing. Very, very challenging.
Right, because they're there for them hour after hour, where the parent is out trying to make a living, put a roof over their head. And so it's a lot of it's perception.
Yes.
Right. How we're perceiving what somebody's saying to us, or the energy that maybe they're in that day. And we believe that that's our fault as a small child.
Yes, that's right. Anything happens, if they get a divorce, if they fight, we will internalize this. Most people can even feel this. I want to help mommy and daddy. They're getting split up. I don't know what I can do. And, this can be a preoccupying dominant thought in our conscious mind or unconscious, to feel like I'm not good enough because I didn't save this relationship. And now I don't have a mommy and daddy together.
Sandy, how much, like for myself, I have been working through this, I feel like, for a lifetime. And I do really now understand that I'm clearing generations of, of
generations of what I call generations of guilt.
Cellular.
Yes, absolutely. We're all clearing generations of guilt. That is what we could even call an epigenetic clearing. An epigenetic clearing. Right.
Yeah. So as a young child, so you start to ask, and when we ask the right questions, we get answers, is what I've learned through my journey. How did I really recognize through my children, when they hit the young teenage years, whoever's got the bigger horror story, they want to outdo each other for who's had it the worst. And I mean, here these children have everything, but the society has dictated to us the victim mentality and the oh poor me, and then everybody comes to your rescue and gets the attention. And so is it an attention thing? Is it just a learned society?
Right. Well, you point out something very important here, Jackie, that we can become like what I call better, more than, that everybody wants to have from their, what I call their ego mind, something better, more than what the other person has, or want to be. That would mean they're worth more, or that would mean they're cared about more, or that would mean they're loved more, because ultimately they can use these things or these material possessions to prove this bottomless pit, that they gotta have more or attain more, and it will not give them what they actually want in the end, because it won't prove anything, no matter how many of these more, better, different things we have. So we gotta go back to basics of looking at what's behind each one of these desires, and it's a hard place to be in, because when you go to school and you meet all your friends, it can become a game that is insatiable. Like, you can't almost fill this bottomless hole. Not enough. Nothing will ever be enough to prove. I have a statement that I love that's in my book. I Just Want Peace. I'll just show the book right now, because it has.
I love that title. I just want peace too.
Yeah, and that's the only thing. When I was a small child, when people used to ask me, "What do you want?" I had this answer. And the answer was always the same thing. I just want peace. I answered that from a very early age. I have not changed that much since I've been 7. I've always been the way I am today. And 70 years has passed, because I'm 77. And I can go back to when I was 7. I actually don't think about my age that much because I'm timeless. And when I retire, I will be expired. So I'll never be retired until I'm dead, because I'm here to be helpful to anyone I meet. And I always think of something as, how can I say yes? Not how can I say no? How can I say yes to what they want? Whoever it is, whatever small thing. Yes. But this original idea that you came up with, like this more, better, or different society that we're in, has to go back to the basics of what we're really looking for. And I have this part in my book that says this: no amount of evidence will ever make true something that isn't true anyway. I'll say it one more time. No amount of evidence will ever make true something that isn't true anyway. I'll give an example what that could mean here. Like if your children think, if I had more of this toy or more of this car or better this boat or better this whatever, that people would think I'm better. And the first supposition being you're not good enough unless you have this is the wrong supposition to begin with, because it's not the truth. You are good enough the way you are, even if you didn't have all these things to prove lovable or good enough, because you're good enough and lovable without them. And if we don't get that part, then we're going to have a challenge, because we'll never have enough of these things. Not saying they're all not great to have, but it can't prove something, and it won't prove something. And this bottomless hole cannot be filled, because we are love itself. We are peace. We are joy. That's our true nature. The title of this book, I Just Want Peace, came from a homeless man. And for those who read it on Kindle, because it is on Kindle, and you can order it on Amazon, and now you'll even be able to, within a week, get the hard copy of this beautiful Emerging Lotus. And the whole book, which is over 382 pages, taking me 10 years to put all this in it. Yeah, it was. So when I came to this homeless man in Bellingham, Washington, with the sign homeless, and he was an interesting man. I felt he was present with me when I spoke with him. Like we made eye contact. We looked at each other. We took each other in. And I said to him, what do you really want here? Do you want to have some food? Do you want to have a home? Do you want to have a job? Do you want to have some place to go, a community maybe? He said, no, I just want peace. And that was an amazing answer, because I felt the same thing. You know, I've always just wanted peace. And that is the most valuable thing to have, inner peace. If everybody focuses on attaining inner peace, we will have outer peace in the world, because nobody would want to have a conflict with anyone.
So, Sandy, do you not believe that everybody's looking in the wrong place for it?
People can be looking in the wrong place for it. That is a possibility. I won't say that
Because
everybody. People
my
can.
experience has been to look out, because I believe that the society, we are taught, like you are saying, to buy this or to have that or to have the mom and dad or to have the house, everything, everybody. And I still see my girlfriends or, you know, family, and still doing this, you know, we do the therapy shop. Yeah, well, we're good for an hour after the therapy shop, aren't we? Right. And then, but I just don't believe that we have the education on how to find the peace, like, because we're going to church, we're looking out to God. We're not looking in to find God within our connection with him. And I've just learned this over, I mean, I have to tell you, I'm ignorant to religion. My parents raised me with nothing. I have no understanding of why I didn't have any education in any religion until I started to dabble in and find kind of my reasons of what's happening here. Right. But the understanding of that, it's not out there.
No, it's not. And I actually want to make this into a Netflix series or an actual feature film. You are completely right. It is not out there. And we have to be taught how we can go in and find it inside of ourselves.
I'm with you.
And disappear the conflict. So My best, yes, we're together in this. I know that. I'm talking to a person who really understands what I'm talking about, and I understand what you're talking about. And the power of clearing process, which is talked about and described in this book, which is how could come it took me 10 years to write it, because to describe the book in such a way that you like in the training, because I have 24 different courses that teach the power of clearing process in all different ways, like one called True Woman's Power, one called Choosing Freedom, the way out of all pain and suffering, and the way back to who you truly are, one called The Art of Surrender, one called the art of joining a family, where we all can join together in a purpose and in agreements and release all conflict within our family.
What's your favorite one? What is your favorite process you've created?
I'll make a joke here. The one I'm doing. In other words, every time I do one, I think this is my favorite, because the one that I'm in is so all-encompassing, and I include everything in it that's appropriate to those people. Because the course, even though it has a very strict curriculum, it always is geared to who are the people in the room and what do they need to really learn, grow, and let go of. And I work a lot with couples. How can they have
huge.
Yes, how can they really get deep? How can they really get into oneness? How can they really get deep into what is important together instead of what is peripheral and logistical? How can
Here's a question. Here's a question from a failing my third marriage now, a failure. I did this last marriage. I'm not doing that this marriage because the negative conversation that I didn't realize I was having was the beating myself up for not succeeding. I failed again type thing, right? And so didn't even realize I was doing that, but I really put myself through the ringer. I'll tell you what, not even understanding that I was having this negative chatter that, I'd failed, something's wrong with me, I'm not a good, whatever it is, right? Like I'm not Martha Stewart, I'm, whatever, and not even aware that is the main chatter going on in that subconscious mind of the whatever 80,000 thoughts I was having that day, right, that I had the same ones yesterday on. Right?
Absolutely.
But this relationship thing, I love this because communication. What do you hear me saying? I learned this question, and I'll tell you what I'm saying and what's being heard is not even in the same ballpark.
Right. I would say you never failed at any of these relationships. You were learning what you had to learn at that time. And every relationship is about learning and healing. It is the ultimate place where we grow and transform.
And, even knowing that society, because we hear it, like you were saying earlier, right? We hear something and then we hear it again, and then you have another thought, and then all of a sudden now it's becoming a belief.
That's
and
exactly.
I don't even know that it's become one of my beliefs, and I've not even checked in on my beliefs. And if my beliefs are even accurate or even what they are, until you start to wake up and go, okay, whatever I'm doing, I need the tower crash. It's like it's flattened and shattered into pieces. So let's rebuild this thing, the foundation from the ground up. And so this is where I have been, and I've known this stuff for my whole life too. Like you, I grew up, I feeling different, oh, there's Jackie with that talk again, right?
Right. You're always the way you are. You haven't changed that much. Probably from when you were little, that you were looking for something. You were seeking what I call the missing pieces in many parts, the essentials to know. And we should be teaching this, from an early age with little children. How do we communicate? How do we speak
Why
up?
are we not teaching this in our school systems, that we're energetic beings, that are infinite beings? Like I have friends that think that my dad too, when we're dead, you're dead. It's like, really?
Right.
I was scared after he died because I was like, are you there?
All right. No, I understand. And we're not teaching some of the important core pieces.
We're not.
That you're talking about here, so that people feel scared. In their life, they don't know where they're going to go. What happens when they die? What are the potentials to see here? This is all important. And how to
huge. It's not just important, Sandy. It's life altering. I was scared my whole life of dying because I didn't know where the hell I was going. I thought everybody's going to hell, and the fear that's driven into us from society on a day-to-day basis that we just believe as truth is staggering once you start to unwind it.
That's right.
Like, your information is so important. This education that you're teaching, we need to know this stuff. We need to learn this. We need to teach this to the babies. Right.
Right. In my holy relationship training, that's one of the courses I didn't mention, which is about learning how to be in relationship, a sacred relationship, which you see each other as innocent, what I call divine beings, instead of as egos with pain, suffering, judgment, blame. See each other from a completely different place. I had little children in that course, in a separate course, learning this about who are they, what is their life about. And I had them as early as 4 and 5 doing the clearing. And
tip my hat to you, girl. I tip my hat to you, because that's where we need to go.
I agree. We got to start young.
We're struggling our whole life with this.
Yeah, we got to start young. Many years ago, when I was in one of my other trainings called The Art of Personal Marketing, and I taught that training for many years, thousands of people did that in the 1980s about your purpose, vision, and mission. And I made a video of each one going through the process individually so that they could see the beginning, the middle, and the end. It was a 2-weekend course, 72 hours in total. I still do the course. That people actually saw that they were so much bigger than they thought they were, or could be, or have, or do so much more, not from a place of filling a hole, but from their expanded self. So different than trying to feel and prove that you're good enough, or that you're worthwhile, or that you're lovable. But there's so much to this. And in that training, one of the women raised her hand and said, I want to have a peace school for 4-year-olds, a Montessori school in which they all learn about who they are and how to have inner peace, leading to the concept of outer peace in the world. And that they had as a saying in this 4-year-old class, Montessori, peace begins with me. I am the source of peace. And they all stood up and they raised their hand. They said, I am the source of peace. And when I saw that, I picked up my daughter there. She was 4 years old. I was so excited and energized by this, and turned on at such a level of vision that during the Art of Personal Marketing class, one of the participants gave this young teacher $100,000. Now we're talking a lot of money, many, many, many years ago, 1984, 1985, 1986, 1987. That was a lot of money to make these schools. And, I never forgot this, because this was a dramatic moment in my life. And I still think we need to have these international peace programs that work with young children so that they can actually see peace is possible within me. And if I have peace, then the world, I take from me inner peace to the world, and I energetically spread it. But it's a process, beginning with me getting who I am, me talking to the people in my life and really seeing them beyond their ego and communicating with them in completely deep ways, and then taking it out in the world. When I watch the pictures on the TV today, on the news, it's a shocking thing. It's more shocking than anything I can even imagine. It's like we're living in a world that we do not recognize. Many people feel what I feel, and many people feel what you feel. We don't recognize what's going on out there. We can't imagine it even. And we can't understand, how can we let it go? That's our real question. How can we let it go? How can we come back to who our true nature is? Because years ago, going back, say, 50 years, we never had anything like this. We didn't see anything like this. And we're watching something that is dramatic in the world. And it came from our own minds in certain ways. It came from our own.
Because that's what people see. It's what seems to sell for some reason. People want, they want this. And I'm not sure what that's about, but the Montessori preschool, I just want to do a rah for that. I did Montessori for my girls, and what an incredible program. And I was grateful to come across some girlfriends who were educated enough to share that with me. And so my girls were lucky enough to have the Montessori education as well. So, And I've still got their booklets and the songs and the.
Oh, it's an amazing world. It's an amazing world. So my daughter, her name is Charisma, and I named her that.
Charisma.
That's
Nice.
Charisma, and it's the real word. And Charisma, I got that name while I was actually working on creating a training for a client in 1983. That name came to me. That was her name, and she went to a Montessori school from when she was very little, and only a Montessori school and a Waldorf school her whole life till she was 16, and then ended up in a regular public school in Florida and here in Bellingham, Washington. So I'm sure it was
lucky girl, right?
Yes. And the reason that we could do that also had a lot to do that we lived in Sweden for all those years. For those 11 years, we lived in Sweden. And in the Swedish system, because of the high taxes that people pay, all of these private schools, including the food, the medical, the dental, are all free. So they got something there that, is a wonderful thing in the sense that we can choose any school we want to go to and go there.
Wow.
So, I mean,
we pay really high taxes in Canada. We don't have that here.
Right. That's true. But it's an important thing to have, that everyone who would want to have it, who would want to be able to go there, would be able to. Yeah, because they all deserve the same thing. They all deserve the kind of education that is going to make a difference to their whole life. And that's, we want to offer. That's why I'm not retiring till I expire, because as long as these things are going on, I'm going to help and do whatever I can to be sure that these systems are realized and changed in education. In education, especially.
I'm with you, girlfriend. Let's do it. Let's do it. Let's just keep.
Yeah, we can talk about how can we, and how can we have a group that does this? Because I've got a lot of trained. I have a lot of trained power of clearing coaches that can go into school systems and work with this, and started out from very early age. What we could do here, and it's with people having the same. We can start a group of people who are interested in this, who care about it, and so we're going to come up with funding, because I had in my lifetime 13 youth projects of youth and family projects that taught all this. But it began as teenagers, say from 13 to say 26. I always knew that the project was possible even at a very, very early age, like even 3 or 4. And that's where it has to go. So these 13 youth projects were paid by private benefactors in most part, that they gave personal money to this. And there is a lot of personal money out there for people and projects. It just has to have the right people looking for the money, attracting the money, knowing that we deserve the money and that these projects will be properly managed with this money. And, that's important here too. I do have a foundation in Canada called Youth on Purpose Society. That's actually a society in Canada. And I have one here in the United States in Washington called Youth on Purpose. So I've got 2, one in Canada and one here, and they can be activated.
And tell me about Youth on Purpose.
Well, Youth on Purpose began in Sweden when I was teaching one day a class in the art of personal marketing, and a person in the class raised their hand and said, did you know, Sandy, that there is a man suing his son for not getting out of bed because he said he has no point to get up or live, or no purpose or no possibility of a job. Therefore, he's going to stay in bed forever. And when I heard that, I thought to myself, I can do something about this. I can show him what his purpose is. I can show him how to attain it. I can show him how his life can expand. I can get him out of bed. I can get him motivated. And maybe there are others like this who feel the same way. What's the point? Because it was very hard to have a career or a job in Sweden unless you could think outside of a limited box. You had to think in a big picture, and you had to think of what can I do here that no one else is doing, with gifts and talents and unique abilities. So I created the first youth project with along of, say, 25 Swedish people, and we called this project Free Sikt, Friksikt, 2 words, which means open view. So you could see beyond normal, an expanded view. And it's shown in a movie that everybody can watch on my YouTube, Sandy Levey, Levey, called The Difference, in 4 parts. And it won second place as the best documentary in Sweden in 1998. 4 million people watched it on television. And it's the beginning of a series of projects that involved all these youths, because that's where it begins. You know, we train their minds of what is possible and what do they need to let go of. So this money can be gotten. There are people who want to give money to projects like this where they know they are completely beneficial and the people are doing exactly what they say they're doing for the reasons they say.
And people that have time and have the passion, yes, that are actually, you know, rooted and grounded and making a difference, right?
Right.
I believe you're right. You know, and I hadn't really thought much about how that education was going to begin. I know it needs to happen, and I know it needs to happen now. And I know that the only way we can do it is to talk about it and to bring it into the mainstream. But that's brilliant. I mean, you really are a pioneer.
Right. And I think there's no accident that we meet here on this podcast. And maybe there are people who are going to listen to the podcast who want to be part of it. You know, I want to attain a group that has the desire, that has the interest, because when we have the desire and interest, we can get the people who can teach this, you know, who can put this out to create the curriculum so that it does happen and that we see it realized. And maybe the way to put it out is in this Netflix series that I want to work on, or this TV feature, or this feature movie.
Have you done anything with Netflix? Like, why do you say Netflix? What, just because Netflix is a big thing, or do you have a connection there?
I have a lot of connections. I'm working on all of them right now, getting them. I decided once the book was done to now put it in some type of public picture, either a TV series, a Netflix, a feature film, maybe all of them, because there's so many parts to this.
Well, let me know how I can help you, because we work in the film industry here in Vancouver. My husband, my ex-husband, unfortunately, we're just going through a nasty separation, unfortunately. Hollywood, big money, and, you know, midlife, right? It's not a great thing, not a good mixture all at once, unfortunately. But I've spoken about this, and he has as well, just because I've shared this information and this passion of mine forever with anybody and everybody, because that's just who I am and that's what I talk about. But I think that it's interesting to me that you're talking that language, because I worked with him at Supergirl for Warner Brothers for 5 years before COVID. And, you know, the content, they need content, apparently. We have it.
We're going to make content. We're going to make content that teaches and does something. And I'm so excited to meet you. I'm going to write down, you know, could we continue this next Friday at the same time at 1 o'clock? And would you be able to send me this?
Yeah.
Today? Great.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Yeah. And I'm very excited about meeting you and what we're talking about. You know, I think this is essential. Unfortunately, I have to end here because I have another appointment. I didn't know how long to go.
Do you know what? Our listeners will be grateful that they don't have to listen to us for hours at a time, that they get to have a next session. Let me tell you, because you know, as we said earlier, we'll talk for hours.
Okay. But next Friday at 1 o'clock, we'll do it again. Yes,
Sandy, let's do it. Let's do it.
It's been so exciting to speak to you, and I feel even more excited. I'm going to tell my whole team of people that's working on the movie and they're interested about you, and we'll continue next Friday. Oh, so grateful to meet you as well. I'm honored. Me too. I feel the same way. Okay. Okay, we'll see you next Friday. Okay. Okay, Sandy. All right. Thank you. Thanks so much. Bye now. Okay. Bye-bye.